So like another thing, I guess, that you've been doing a lot recently is the whole touring thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and as someone who, well, as we're about to do our very first tour, like I want to know, as like the upperclassman, like of the experienced one of tours, like is
The
there
senpai.
like the senpai of tours? is there like any, I guess, like how different is it to like say a regular convention or like really like anything?
It's so much better than regular content. It's like, because well, this is great because you actually have people to like talk to, and get to laugh and joke around with. But when you're on your own and you're recording a Let's Play and it's like, am I funny? Nope. And then you're just waiting for the camera to laugh back and it doesn't. It's like when I went on tour, I came back and I was miserable because I was like, I don't know how to make videos anymore. It's so uncomfortable. I'm just by myself and nothing I'm saying is funny.
Right.
And I think some of that still lingers around today, but it's such a fun, electric energy. And I was doing them like every day and going out to a show and seeing so many parts of the world. And again, food culture is such a massive part.
Hell yeah.
The best part of tour is everything between your show. Because I had a really good tour family and everyone was very mature and there was no like egos anywhere and everyone was just so nice and I got to know them so well.
Man, the fact that you call it a family and not a team just says a lot. like they say a tour team. They say a team. This is the family.
We're a
guy.
family. Vin Diesel. Because you just everyone's like sleeping on the bus and you all kind of like, you're in such close proximity to each other.
Right.
If any ego is there, you'll know it immediately.
Right.
And everyone will get on each other's nerves. But we would just have so much fun going to restaurants and like, oh, this is the biggest restaurant in this city. Let's go there. And we would hang out and just drink after the shows or go to a place like a day early. We went to Florida and I got to see like Universal and got to go to the Harry Potter land there.
Awesome. Awesome.
It's just like most of my best memories are probably from tour.
What's like the wildest location that you remember from like any of your tours where it's like, I want to go back and do a show there, or like I want to go back there to like experience what I experienced during pre or post show?
Yeah, the weirdest one I think was New Orleans, New Orleans. Which wasn't selling well initially, and then they were like, oh, they're a musical town, like they'll show up on the day and they'll buy tickets at the door.
Right.
And then I got there and they didn't, so half the theater was empty. It was like daylight out, I could see everybody, and it was like people were yelling at each other in the crowd at each other
during the show.
being like, you're great, and somebody else being like, shut the fuck up, he's doing a show. Be like, no, you shut the fuck up. And I was like, I'm probably remembering it far more like hyperbolic than it was.
Yeah.
That was like, New Orleans is such a weird town because they have a place called the French Quarter, I think, and that was like all the old timey buildings and like what you think New Orleans looks like, and like, that area of the world. And it was like right after Mardi Gras, so there was so many people out like still celebrating that. And then it was just like, it was almost like a line in the sand, and then suddenly it's just Metropolis out of nowhere. So it was like going from old to new immediately, and all these people out in the streets all having fun, and there was like a death museum there, and we had like crawfish, and then I had snails for the first time there, and I was like, it was all these like experiences back to back where I was I'm not.
Wait, pause. What the hell is a death museum?
Where you go and like look at stuff about like dead bodies and pieces of like.
Is that not just a cemetery?
No, you get to see them. It's like a cemetery with windows.
At the end, you join the museum.
It's just like a lot of stuff about like the history of like death and like medical culture and how they discover stuff. And
Pretty sure the history of death goes all the way to the start of humanity. You know,
it'll go all the way to the end.
This guy Isaac Death discovered death, and humanity just was never the same
Fuck
again.
that guy. He brought it upon everything. But that was a weird experience. So it was just a lot of like crazy shit happening. But then I think the coolest one was probably Florida, because I got to do it in Universal. So it was like it was like the Hard Rock Cafe in Universal.
Oh, cool.
Right.
So I kept hearing like, we're doing the Hard Rock Cafe, and I was like, those are a big deal. And then we were like walking around Universal, and I was like, is the Hard Rock I'm doing like bigger than this? And they were like, that is the one you're doing.
Oh, wow.
So you actually have to like go into like the start of Universal to see it. Wow. And then there were so many people outside of it. And I think there was something about it, like it was the first one or it was the biggest one in the world, like the Hard Rock.
Right.
And then we got like a private tour around it and got to see like the upper area where like Paul McCartney's stuff was. And like,
Oh
my
cool.
God.
Elvis's stuff was like lying around. I was like, okay, that's pretty cool.
And that
I'll
sounds
never get to do
awesome.
this again.
That's a flex, definitely.
Yeah, and then doing it and like the floor design of that one was like a perfect like like semicircle, and like I was able to talk to everyone perfectly. Acoustics were great.
Yeah.
The show slapped harder than it did in most places. So.
Awesome.
What did you do in the shows?
I did a mix of like stand-up with like small snippets of gameplay in it. So
Right.
it was like a story about my life done in a stand-up comedy way, where I would tell stories of my past with like punchlines and everything.
Okay.
Right.
But then it was like broken up into 3 acts, where I would have like act 1 would be like my childhood and here's where I grew up and everything about that. And then I played a modded Pokemon Blue, because that was the first game I remember getting that I loved.
Right.
But the characters in it, like we set it up that you fought your rival and you had to fight 6 Pokemon, but all 6 were named after like hard things in your life, like fear, doubt.
Right.
Oh, cool.
And then the last one was called Rent. So we'd bring someone up on stage to play it and then give them a chance to like be a YouTuber for like
Right.
20 minutes. And then we'd move on to like my teenage years, and that was like when I was like depressed and lived in a cabin in the woods and was miserable and kind of like just sort of like relate to the audience. And then the last one was we played Shadow of the Colossus for that one, because I discovered that game during that period.
Right.
And then someone came up and played that, and then adulthood was all about YouTube and where I went from there and how I uplifted myself out of that. And then we played Happy Wheels on stage, because
Of course.
it's the most hype game to play live ever.
Yeah.
Right.
But the whole point of the show was to kind of like relate the story of my life entertaining wise, but to show them like, here's where I came from, here's what I did, nothing is special, I'm nobody.
Yeah.
But here I am like doing it.
Yeah.
How do you make sure a show doesn't suck?
I don't know.
Fuck.
Because we were hoping you'd tell us that, so that our show doesn't look sucky.
Do you write the show and then you're like, fuck, it's not funny. How do I make this
Do you call up
funny?
screenwriters in LA to be like, help me out, bro?
Well,
Call up Uber drivers in another.
I did it with Real Good Touring, which like Brent and Aaron and those guys.
Oh
we're
yeah,
doing-
yeah.
we're
We're
doing
doing
them
it
as
as well.
well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I like wrote out the structure of it, and they were like, so can you perform it for us? And I did practice shows to like 400 people in like Chicago and stuff, and I did it, and I was like, okay, it's a show finally. Whew. Like I never wrote out the jokes properly. I kind of just improv. I had like pillars to hit.
Right.
Kind of like improv them
Kind of
as I
went there.
Yeah.
And then as the show progressed, I got better and better at it, and like trimmed the fat a little. And
Yeah.
but it'll work because you guys know each other so well, and you've been around each other so long, and you bounce like the same humor off each other. So
Right.
Hopefully,
maybe you're right.
How much planning went into like, I guess not like the actual like planning the logistics, but like the content of the tour or the show
Like the
itself.
narrative, like, how long did that take
how long did that take
structure?
to like?
I think for me it was like 4 months.
Wow.
But I kind of knew what I wanted going into it. Like I had the idea to do, because Bo Burnham had released Make Happy at the time, his
Right.
special before Inside, and I was like, I want to do something like that, where it's like I always wanted to try stand up anyway. I didn't want to get up and do what I always do, but kind of a little bit to like pander to the audience with the games and stuff.
Right.
But I wanted it to make sense in it. But the whole point was that I wanted to do something fun, but have like a message at the end of it.
Right.
And the final line of the show was like, go out and be the heroes of your own story, and like empower people to like do the thing. Because everyone looks at this stuff and they're like, how did you do it? Who do you know that like got you here? And like PewDiePie shout out and all this stuff. And
Right.
they think that like these specific steps need to happen. I
Right.
was like, I grew up in a town of 600 people and knew nothing about the world. And I fucked up tons of times along the way, and I was miserable and depressed and hated myself and failed college. And then I was like, I still got up and like talked to people on a stage. And
Yeah.
like anybody can do it, really.
Yeah.
You make it sound a lot easier.
Not good though. That's the difference.
Well, it's a different type of show. You don't have to get up and have that specific type of show.
Yeah. I mean, you sound like it sounds like an amazing show with an amazing amount of preparation and content that's gone into it.
You know you wanted to do.
Yeah. And I'm
Yeah.
sitting here listening, sitting here listening, being like, guys, so he set the standard, but you know, don't
expect our show to be like that. Like,
There's
please.
a reason we're not in Free-Go.
Yeah, the tour did a lot for me on that one.
Yeah. Ryan Reynolds is in the audience.
I feel like I'm just a good bullshitter. I feel like I can get up and like talk off.
Isn't that YouTuber? Yeah. Grab every YouTuber.
I feel like I can like talk myself out of any scenario. So
Right.
I feel like I really enjoy live stuff, and I enjoy it
Right.
a lot more than like scripted stuff doesn't really play that well
Yeah.
with me.
Do you enjoy live streaming much?
No,
That's so odd. So you enjoy
Yeah.
live stuff, but not live
because I
streaming.
can't hear them.
By live, you mean like the feedback of like the emotions.
And it's like you're in the space and everyone's there for a specific energy. And if like we had a thing at the start where I was like, put away your phones. You've seen me through a screen enough. Like, now is not the time to do that.
And that's what's going to happen to Connor after our tour. He's going to try and go back in the live stream and be like, it's not the same.
Like when I don't hear the pogs in like the crowd.
Where's the laugh? Where's the laugh track, dude?
Maybe I'll go live and I'm like, this is boring. Where's the feed? I want to see.
Just have a fucking sound deck where you can just play a laugh every now and then.
Did you?
It is more fun to do it live, and I feel like because the show wouldn't translate to a video well. We did the documentary and everything of it, but we still pulled out so much of the show from it because I'm like, none of these jokes land if you're not there.
Of course.
And everyone's there to giggle, and everyone's there to like anything you say will make them laugh. And I feel like nothing's like taken out of context. Nothing is weird about it. No one like takes something and then brings it somewhere else.
Yeah.
And I feel like live streaming is a lot of that, where I'm like, I could say something and you could take it out of context and put it somewhere else. And seeing people show up, I'm such a people pleaser. So if somebody says I hate this and it's one out of like 1,000, I'll still see it and it'll like ruin my whole mood. So I empathize with people way too easily, and if someone's not having a good time, I'm like, it's my fault. I fucked it up. So I'm like, why am I live? Why did I go live if people aren't enjoying themselves?
Did you get many hecklers or anything like that you had to deal with live?
Not like bad hecklers,
right.
Like
just people who were enthusiastic, who treated it like a panel at a convention.
Yeah.
And I like lost my trail of thought, and I fucked up one of the jokes one night and said like the punchline way too early.
How do you recover from that on stage, though?
Yeah, I didn't. I just moved on. It was awful. I froze, and I had. Maybe if you do your live show, you'll have this experience, because other people I've talked to have had it where you go on. I had done the show like 30 times at this point, and then at some point I was like saying the show, and I like drifted out of my body, and I was like, what if I fuck this up right now? And I was like, I could say anything. I could say the most horrific shit ever that would ruin everything. And then I was like, wait, I'm not even paying attention to what I'm saying. And my mouth was just like saying all of the jokes.
Right.
And I was like, I came back into my body, and I was like, I've never had that experience before.
Wow.
And some therapist is like, yeah, you have a condition.
Come see me in my office.
But that was so bizarre how your brain just like takes over and just works through it.
Yeah.
Which I guess you probably get doing live streams.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah,
like thinking about dinner and everyone's in chat, like you're just making jokes still.
Yeah, you can definitely autopilot it after a while.
I mean, sometimes I do it on this podcast, you know, not even with a live audience. Sometimes I'm just like, my mouth is like moving right now, but I don't know what point I'm trying to make.
Right.
I'm just saying shit, but in the back of my mind, I'm like, God, I gotta take a shit.
Do you have ADHD by any chance?
Yes, I do. Yes, but I actually only got recently diagnosed.
Me too,
actually,
like 2 months ago.
Hell yeah! High five! ADHD club.
Yeah.
I wish I could join in this flex.
Yeah, I can't either.
I'm just fascinated to know how many people who do this job have ADHD, because I'm
think a
convinced
lot.
it's like
Yeah.
80%.
I think it's a lot.
Yeah.
Like every live streamer I know has ADHD.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think it's impossible to be a successful streamer if you don't.
I don't know about that.
To be honest, like it's because it's so much stimuli, right? And
It
it's
is.
like,
And there's so much multitasking.
Yeah.
And I guess even like at the beginning, it just felt so overwhelming. You know, like you have like you want to play the game, you want to do whatever activity, but then you have to have like a second, like a third eye to keep an eye on the chat and everything like that. It's like
Just do it.
yeah, and then it becomes second nature.
Yeah,
but like I remember when you start off,
it's like, oh, it's too
Yeah.
much.
yeah.
I've said this to these guys, but I don't really enjoy gaming if I'm not doing it on stream. I just feel like unless I see those like funny little emotes popping up in the corner of my eye, I'm like, something in my brain is
There's a whore for content.
I think maybe I am. I think I am a whore for content. I
mean, there's nothing wrong with it.
If I don't see that cake W, it doesn't get me up in the morning, man.
Something about seeing that Spanish guy laughing, that just makes me feel so happy. I'm like, I made a joke and people laughed even though it wasn't funny. But God, these paid actors are great.
What you have is called a parasocial relationship.
Maybe I'm parasocial. I'm like, guys, please turn up.
Please laugh at my joke.
yeah.
It's definitely something to like making your own schedule. I think ADHD people relate to.
Yeah, definitely, because like that's why to me, like I could never be like a full-time streamer, I think, because with a stream, sometimes you always feel the pressure to stream like certain hours, at least like real professional streamers, where with YouTube,
Professional streamer.
but like with YouTube, my like my like productivity is not like a linear curve, you know. So I'll have like certain days, certain weeks where I'm just like on it, and then certain months where just like nothing happens and I don't know what to do about it, and it just like it goes up and down. So that's one big difference between I think YouTube and Twitch streaming that I enjoy.
But I mean, you uploaded every day.
Yeah.
With ADHD.
Yeah, you basically had a streamer schedule on YouTube.
Yeah. I mean, I have done the streaming thing for a while. We did the Rust server like years ago with all the Among Us crew, and I was streaming like 8 hours some days and like staying up till 6 a.m. to play it. And, but after that, I don't know, it just made me anxious to go live. I feel like I can make something more entertaining when it's paced around editing.
Right.
But if it's me, I'm like, I don't know, I just find myself boring.
You think there's like too much downtime between like the highlights, I guess.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe that's just like a background kind of brain thing going on.
Right.
I don't know. If just the feeling of having to like please people live just kind of got to me.
Yeah.
I can imagine like, because I guess like I can relate, because when you feel like you do have to like always be on it and always like be entertaining, it's just so draining, you know. Whereas you know, with I guess like with a Let's Play, you can take a break and you just like, okay, this part's gonna be edited out, no pressure. But when it's live, you constantly feel like you have eyes watching you.
Yeah. Plus, if I stream, like you said, there's a certain amount of hours. Like if you stream less than 2 hours, everyone's like, go away. No one but it just got in the way of other work. Like there's other things I want to do. Like my YouTube would suffer for it, and if I'm not uploading those streams, then what's the point? I'm a much better YouTuber than I am a streamer.
Right.
It's not the same skill set at all.
Yeah.
Despite what people think.